Hi, my name is Anthony Zupnik. I work for Wolfram Research. I'm talking today about the Wolfram Cloud Connector for Excel. This is a new product that we've been working on for the last year, and we're going to be releasing soon. Thank you. To talk to you about the product I've been working on the last year, which is the Wolfram Cloud Connector for Excel. I did present it last year, so I recognize some of you from last year, and we've gone a long way since then. A lot of polish has been added, and some other features which I think you might find some interesting. I'll try to differentiate it from last year's presentation as well, so that you wouldn't get bored. Okay, so what is the Cloud Connector for Excel? The Cloud Connector for Excel is a plugin for Excel. It can be quite difficult to make these plugins that do anything particularly useful. You either have to write them in C, which can be quite difficult, or you write VBA code, which is awful, because you're really limited to the Visual Basic language and sandbox within Excel. It's not a pleasant experience. In my first iteration of this product, I wrote a lot of this stuff in VBA, and it was appalling. It really limits you to a certain subset of features that a product can do. So this is written in C# if you have any interest in that. But basically, the idea of this plugin is, it's a product for the Wolfram Enterprise private cloud, and you can call the Enterprise Wolfram private cloud from Excel. And the reason why this is beneficial is, you can access any Wolfram language function from within Excel if you wanted to. And I'll talk to you details about how this is done as we go on. So let me just show you an example, just to show you the product itself. I remember last time I presented, I think I went through 10 slides before I even showed the product. So let's go straight into it. I'll fire up Excel, and hopefully it will work. This is not my machine. My machine broke down yesterday, so this is actually wrong. Oh no, this is the data. Okay, this is fine. I didn't even read my own bullet points. So basically, what I want to do is, this is an example that I've done in in form function and stuff like that in the past. And it's basically creating a classifier from 40,000 recipes. And this data set was taken from this Nature paper, which had a look at food pairings between cultures and stuff like that. So the data set kind of looks like this. So you have a list of ingredients, and you have a cuisine. So this first column is the cuisine. And then as we go down, you've got North American, you've got Southeast Asian, Western European, etc., etc. So you've got a nice data set here of a bunch of ingredients for some recipe. It doesn't say what the meal is, but that we're not particularly interested in that. We're interested in where that meal came from. So what we can do in the Wolfram language is just wrap this thing around with classify. I mean, you clean the data a little bit for convenience, but basically you can just wrap classify around it, and it will do some work for you. So I won't show you the code for the classify. I mean, it's super simple code anyway. Let's just zoom in here. Actually, maybe I won't zoom in because the plot that comes back quite big. So let me show you the product. So the product, we have this nice little Wolfram tab. This Wolfram tab has a bunch of things which I'll talk to you about. This is a little bit less attractive in Windows 7, but it looks okay, I think. So we have an about page. Look, there's our logo. Preferences. This file thing, which I'll talk to you about. This Cloud API, which has a separate slide. Being able to enable or disable APIs and a recalculate workbook button for convenience. But anyway, I have this, hopefully it's not too small. I'll zoom in a bit, but I know that the result's going to come back really big. So we have this function, Wolfram API, and it's quite simple. So I created an API which has a URL of URI of WTC 2017 / recipe classify plot, and then I can give some parameters, some ingredients which are in the cells B2 to B4. So these ingredients, bacon, apple, and tomato. I don't really have a cuisine in mind here, but if I just run this API, what I should get back is a graphic. And this graphic gives me some information. So the ingredients were, bacon, apple, tomato, and it says that this is very likely to have been African cuisine. Eastern European cuisine. It goes in order. So it's over 40% likely to be Eastern European and 20% likely to be Western European. So that's kind of neat. And I might change one of these ingredients and say avocado. And if suddenly I change one of these ingredients for avocado, we see that the probability goes that it's, it seems to think it's 100%, almost 100% likely to have come from Latin America. So this is cool. You can do this. You get these graphical responses. You see that this, live evaluated the code, changed the information that was within this cell. Well, they don't call them cells; they call them shapes in Excel for any of these, any image or whatever. But you don't need to know that kind of information. I may, want to get the raw information out of the probability. So I made a separate recipe classifier which just gives the probabilities. And the probabilities come out in some association. And the association looks like this. So now I've got the data, and I've got, for this just chicken and bacon, we can see 0.1, so 10% for Western European, 10% for Eastern European, whatever. And then if I wanted to, if I really want to use Excel, which I don't, I want to use Excel as little as possible, I can make my chart. Where are we here? Insert. Yeah. I miss it. It's different on my version of Excel that I usually use. Here we go. So I can make this chart. It's not as nice looking as the previous one. I don't know if you agree, but you've got a lot of different stylistic option changes that you can make, and then this is obviously this will change live as well. So this is kind of neat as well. Oh, what this one avocado? If I had avocado, is that right? Yeah. Okay. Let me add some more ingredients. So like beef, pepper. What else? I've already got chicken. That'll do. Let me just try this. I'll just change this to C4 and run this again. Okay, that was a bit different, but you get the point that it's live updating. So that's you kind of getting an idea of the speeds here as well. Okay. So that's basically the product. I'll show you some more features as we go on. And as I said before, this is an EPC product essentially. What is an EPC? Well, an EPC is we call it the Wolfram Enterprise Private Cloud, and that's your own private cloud, a cloud that lives on your within your infrastructure. You can connect it up to your data sources. You have freedom to run whatever you want on it. You can connect it to your devices. You don't have to run any kind of sandbox mode like you do in the public cloud. All of these things are kind of useful. The main things are for the cloud to me are APIs, forms, scheduled tasks, and reports. These are the main features that really are designed for a cloud. So to have that kind of power within your private cloud is really, really useful. So, this EPC runs on a VM, which means they can be very simple to install, very simple to create multiple copies of if you need to have multiple private clouds on site or on multiple sites and connect them together. Yeah, so that's the product. If you want more information about Enterprise Private Cloud, I'm sure there were talks about it, but there is a very good website which gives you a lot of information about EPC. So you've got the Y EPC, and then what's this? Y EPC, and it gives you a bunch of information, use cases. These use cases are actually pretty good. Very detailed information on how you can create a full system from start to finish within the Wolfram technology stack. So yeah, anyway, but feel free to check that website out. Really quite useful. So the main thing about the product that I've created is they run on API functions. I may not have made that clear before, but basically the API function. Everything that you do, any function that you deploy there can be essentially used with a very minor amount of tweaking within Excel. So, API functions are written entirely in the Wolfram language, which is really, really beneficial. So you don't have to write something in one language and then access it from another. I mean, this stuff can get really tricky, and this is the great thing about our technology stack. Is we have one language to do everything, which is genuinely amazing. I'm not sure that any company does it as well as we do. So yeah, the API functions. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but if it's not, they run in the cloud. I guess they don't always run in the cloud because you can run create local API functions and stuff like that and access them within the Wolfram language. So I guess that's even a lie. But for this purpose, they need to run in the cloud. You call these APIs via a web request. So you have a web request from Excel that calls your cloud and gets the information back. And the main reason why we're using API functions is because they're very simple to write. And I'll show you how simple it is, and they're very quick to deploy. And I'll show you now. Just to prove to you that it's simple. So we want to create an API. So I'm just going to wrap cloud deploy first. And then I'm going to construct this kind of in a nice way so that you can see what's happening easier. So I'm going to have some image, which I'm going to call A, and some image, which I'm going to call B, because I'm not very imaginative in my variable names. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do image restyle, because that's kind of a neat function. So when I get my images, I'm going to go image A restyled with image B. So nothing too complicated. To get this to work in the cloud connector, I just have to add this thing, allowed cloud extra parameters. Fine. I'm going to just call it restyle, and then I'm going to set permissions to public. So I run this, and it's called restyle. And then what I'll do is I will just open a new thing here. And I need to get some images. So let's go to Chrome and say I want a Van Gogh, because I want to look like Van Gogh, a Van Gogh portrait. So I don't know. That one's massive. I'm not going to take that one. I'll take this one. This one seems fine. I'll save this over here. Fine. I don't need to name it anything. And then I'll go use this file thing. So this is really cool. So the fact is I can reference files within Excel so that they can be interacted with directly. So I've got this great picture of me at my wedding. I got married just a month ago. Thanks. And I'll take this image. So I call this image A, image B, and then I'll say equals Wolfram API, and then I said it was called restyle, right? And then I'll say parameter A is me, because and the restyling parameter is B. So hopefully, actually, there is one thing that I wanted to change, because I know this can take some time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize the images once they come over to the server. So then the good thing is I just replaced that API, so I can update these things. So let's see if this works. This problem with live coding is it may fail. But there we go. We got it to work. A work of art, like Van Gogh would have done himself. I don't know what's happened to my face. I mean, everything else looks okay, but my face has just gone wrong. But yeah, it's cool. So this was all live. That was me writing the code, deploying it, getting my data, and then interacting with it within Excel. Super fast, super simple. I could send this to you. You could use it. Okay. So why have we created this product? Well, I kind of already gone over this. I'm running out of time as well already. So we basically can do so much more than Excel can do. It's amazing. You guys are pretty much all Wolfram language developers. Having that within Excel, to have someone who doesn't know how to use the Wolfram language, even though it's quite simple, people get scared of new things. They are now able to do it in an environment which is comfortable to them. So the good thing is that it supports these, these typical Excel workflows. So people who have already got their Excel spreadsheets all set up, they can just slot in these new Wolfram APIs very simply and easily. And everything is done, like all these computations are done on the server. So these days it's quite popular to have these kind of I can't remember what the term of these shell machines are, but they don't have any power basically, and they can only really run a small set of things. So if you allow the server to do like these hardcore computations, then you can have cheaper machines and just have better servers, which can be more convenient for the company. So let's hook up to some real world data. So I love this. I do this. This is another example that I use, but I wanted to link it up to Excel. There's this Cambridge website. This Cambridge website. I want them to change this because, and one day someone from Cambridge will see my talk and be like, maybe we should change this, because they have this email address lookup, and they have a little API where you can basically look up any set of email addresses. So I can say, look up the surname with people with the surnames AB. And I've got a list of all these people who have surnames A, B, and their departments, and their email addresses. So, what if I want to hook up to this API, right? So I'll show you the code afterwards. But basically, I hooked up to this API, this kind of API that they have, and I made a Cambridge API, and I can just fill in the surname, and it will expand out for me. So there's my information. Now there's all my information, there's all my email addresses. Now I can mass email these people. We won't do that. But this is academic purposes. Actually, I had someone who asked, I won't name any names, but who asked me for this stuff, and I was like, no. But basically, it's really cool. And look at the responses. They're pretty good. They're pretty fast, and this isn't even in ideal situations. So we've got really fast response times to get all these email addresses, and it's more about connecting to your company's APIs, not stealing other people's data. But it's just to give you an idea of that. It's public, so I assume it's fine. So yeah, anyway, the APIs. I mean, just in case you're interested, I do this URL fetch of the website, and then I add some parameters, and it gives me like a response like this. This is technical, but I know there's most of you are developers. So I get this stuff back, and basically all I have to do is get certain data out. So I do string cases to get the chunk of email addresses and data, and I see that they're separated with all these DTs and DDs, and then I just construct this string cases, which does a string cases within the string cases and extracts the information out. But all it does is get the name. You see name here is right there, and the department is there, and then I get the email address out, and then that's it. And all I have to do is then slot that function that I created into an API function, and have some parameters. So I have some parameters here, and some of them have default values, and it will just defaults to 100 results. So what I could do, let's see, is say parameter max, because I hooked up to all the parameters in this API. I can say I just want 10 results. Oh, is that going to be okay? Yeah. So there you go. So now I've got 10 results. So I hook up to this API as all of the parameters that I can have. Okay. So last example, report generation. So as I am out of time, I won't show you the APIs, but basically I can run this report, and I hook up to some VBA code, and what I should be able to do is run stock report, this amazing little thing that I created in VBA, and I'll select some places, and I'll submit. It will tell me that my report is being generated, essentially, and it will be emailed to me. So we'll wait a little bit for that, because you have to generate the report, you have to get a service kernel or whatever. Probably take like a minute, maybe. While we're waiting for that, let me show you the Cloud API dialog. So the Cloud API dialog is another simple layer for people to be able to get out a template of an API construction. So let's say I have, it already auto-completed for me because it saves the APIs. But basically, I've typed in demo xadd, so it's just this adding API, and sorry, it's a little bit small. It gives me the API parameters, so there's an X and a Y. I say I want the output to be here. I want X to be 4 and Y to be 6, and I'll insert, and then it will fill out that API for me right here, which is really, really useful. So yeah, it's pretty nice little function that was added. So it stores the APIs as I showed you, and it's quick to use. So if people are really, really unfamiliar, then they can use it. So there are 3 user types essentially. We have the Excel user, the developer, and the system administrator. Basically, the Excel user doesn't know any Wolfram language, and they just want to be able to use Excel. The developer, is able to write code in the Wolfram language, and the system administrator, they have just one centralized server to manage essentially. So all of these user types benefit from this product, which is great. So about the release of the product, we are planning a preview release. We hope to have it done today, but part of it was my fault that things got slow. So hopefully by the end of this month, we will have a release for you, and you'll be able to download the product and access it. So yeah, when can you get it? Yeah, end of the month. Who can get it? It's going to be a download available to everyone. It is an EPC-only product at the moment, but you can technically run it on the public cloud. And we can talk about that at some point to anyone who has interest. I'm going to give you a form that you can fill out, and we can have email, and we can talk about that. So website, documentation we're going to have. Here's the website, very swanky. Talks about these user types, workflow, comparing normal Excel to the Cloud Connector and how easy it is. Oh no, I'm out of time. Why? So this is where we go through the user types, and it has a lot more information about, you know, why these users benefit. The documentation is still in production. I've almost finished it, but basically it gives you all the user types are catered for here, and we have information on how each one sets up their infrastructure, etc., etc. So yeah, summary. Yeah, so what the kind of features that we have is we can call Excel functions with these Wolfram APIs. We have support for any Wolfram language expression. You saw this matrix expansion, which I didn't make a big deal of because I'm cool and everything. But it's really cool, I think, the matrix expansion which you saw. You can reference local files, again, another really cool thing. You know, these outputs automatically update, and you have a convenient GUI for these APIs. So this is the most important bit. So register your interest, wolfram.am cloud connector. I made this form. Just put in your name and your email address, and it will send me an email, and I will remember you. And when this product is ready for release, I will email you personally, maybe. So thank you very much for listening. Sorry that I overran.